Welcome to St. Louis Cardinals heaven. We are playing general manager with the St. Louis Cardinals, and on the back half of this episode, we have an interview with closer Ryan Helsley. This is going to be a banger for all the people in St. Louis. Welcome to the Just Baseball Show. It is Friday, December 16th. We got the gang together. That's Jack, that's Aram, and I'm Peter. Guys, welcome. We were looking at the St. Louis Cardinals roster a little bit earlier, and we don't have to do a lot, but we do have to address the pitching staff, and I'd like to add a couple more bullpen arms to assist Ryan Helsley in his amazing season when he had a 1.25 ERA, 19 saves in 64 innings. Very excited to get to that interview, but just as excited to start middling around with the St. Louis Cardinals. Jack, how are you? You're staring at me.
Yeah, I'm good. I am doing well. I'm trying to figure out like who we can trade for, and I'm looking at all these roster resources, and I'm like, maybe Tampa has some depth that they can trade for. But then I remember that Shane Baz is out for the entire season, and like it's hard to locate a starting pitcher that you can trade for. So I think in order to get better, they're going to have to spend a little bit. So I'm thinking about who I want to open the checkbook for.
And Aram, it's good that you're here because we are going to trade all of your team's pitchers over to the St. Louis Cardinals. Are you ready?
Yeah, well, I was actually going to say my first move is DFA Ryan Helsley. Kind enough to come on the show. I'm out of here. You guys are doing the interview. So I'll DFA him, and then you guys can break the news in that interview, and we'll let him know. It's sorry, 1.25 ERA, just didn't cut it. 103, touch 104, and maybe we'll bring you back.
Right.
So let's get into it. I want to start with a little bit of the locks, because what we usually do is we go through the team, especially on offense, and look at the guys who are definitely playing last year. But the Cardinals won the division. They lost in the playoffs, but they turned in a really good season, and they are the easily prohibitive favorites to win this division again. So we just need to make a couple of moves. The offense was electric last year. They finished 5th in team OPS as a team, 10th in batting average. The starting pitching left a little bit to be desired. They finished 16th in ERA as a staff. And then the bullpen, led by Ryan Helsley and others, is still electric. They were 11th in team ERA in all of Major League Baseball. They have Jordan Walker. Hopefully, could he debut next year? He is so freaking good. He's one of my favorite prospects in baseball. They have Mason Wynn coming up. They have Matthew Liberatore, who helped in their rotation last year a little bit. And of course, Nolan Gorman made his debut last year and impressed some. But the most interesting position, I think, on offense for the St. Louis Cardinals moving into next year is Tommy Edman at shortstop. Will he play shortstop? I think he's going to. GM John Mozeliak said he thinks Tommy Edman is a very, very good shortstop. Not one very, two veries, which I think is very telling. And he is a really good shortstop, and he played well for them last year, had a ton of WAR. They signed Wilson Contreras to a 5-year deal. He's going to be the starting catcher. That was a deal that they needed to make. They're passing the torch from Yadier Molina over to Wilson Contreras. Paul Goldschmidt, MVP. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's playing first base. Nolan Arenado, almost MVP. He's probably going to play third. Brendan Donovan is probably going to play second base. He was a rookie last year who was electric, and he can play everywhere, but I think he's going to slot in to the second base position. Then you got Tyler O'Neill left. He's going to play left. Lars Nootbaar, again, came onto the scene and was awesome, was near an 800 OPS. He's probably going to play right. Then you have Juan Yepes, who's probably going to DH. Dylan Carlson, who's probably going to play center. Are there any, what's the opposite of a lock? Are there any cakes?
Question marks?
Yeah, sure.
I guess gates, open doors. Are there any turnstiles that could be occupied and turned into a lock? No notes. Perfect. No notes. That's my thing. And like, yes, we've talked about maybe upgrading it short and Tommy Edman playing second and Donovan being that super utility guy. But John Mozeliak saying that Tommy Edman is a very, very good defensive shortstop, or could be a very, very good defensive shortstop. Peter, you said it's very telling. Was it very telling?
Yeah,
or very,
very telling.
Because him saying that with two varies, like the second vary tells me that they had zero interest in any of the 4 shortstops at any point. They're not doing that. I love Edman at short. We know he is a platinum glove caliber second baseman, but he is a gold glove caliber shortstop, I do think. And Brendan Donovan, the guy needs to be playing every single day. He had a 400 OBP. how can you keep him out of the lineup? So I like it. And then, of course, like, some question marks, I guess, are Yepes is the DH. He's a righty bat. You've got Gorman and Burleson waiting on the bench as lefty bats. And then catcher. I love what you said about catcher, because so much of the conversation pre-Wilson Contreras was, is Ivan Herrera the guy? And I think Aram and I both agreed no. I think you agreed no as well, Peter. And the tandem of Kisner and Herrera, we didn't feel good about them as a platoon or a timeshare. I feel great about them as a backup plan to Wilson Contreras.
Yeah. Aram, any thoughts on any of the question marks, or as I like to call them, takes?
No, honestly, what I was like, what was kind of hitting me when you're going through this team is I was like, this team's naturally going to be better this year. Of course, adding Wilson Contreras is going to be absolutely massive. And I know that there's a void that we can't, really put a numerical value on in terms of not having Yadier Molina behind the dish. But I can promise you what Contreras will do offensively compared to what Yadi did or did not do offensively will help make up for that, and just being, available and healthy and ready to go, and, young spring chicken compared to Yadi Molina. But how about the fact that Tyler O'Neill didn't play all last year, basically, and, he's going to be healthy and ready to go, and, is trending towards potentially being able to play in the second round or the next round of the playoffs if, they were able to advance. Obviously they didn't. Lars Nootbaar, I feel like, is, really showed what he is on the cusp of, which is being a very impactful bat and a well-rounded player. I think he's going to make a leap next year. The big question is Carlson. And that's the interesting thing, is I never thought that we would be saying, where does Carlson fit in here? He's the most true center fielder and he's a great glove out there, but I almost feel like the Cardinals are starting to wonder if it's ever gonna happen with Dylan Carlson. I think there's still reason to be patient. He just turned 24 years old. He's extremely talented. He's a switch hitter. He's got speed. He's a good defender. Makeup's off the charts by all accounts, but that's a position where you could probably upgrade a little bit. And I don't know, if that's really going to be something that we can do in this episode, but I do think that's something that, as the season goes on, should be something to monitor. The other thing that kind of drives me nuts is that they're going to have guys like Burleson and Gorman, not playing a ton potentially. Like, that blows my mind, because, I think Burleson should be a regular, and I think he's a really good player and was one of the best hitters in the minor leagues over the last couple of years. And, Nolan Gorman's one of the most highly touted prospects in baseball over the last couple of years, even though I'm not the biggest fan. Still probably needs to be getting some pretty consistent at-bats. You could probably justify that DH platoon with Yepes, but I just hate Burleson on the bench, and I'd almost rather trade him before I keep this guy, someone that talented, on the bench.
But here's my thing, though. We know that Tyler O'Neill has also been a guy who's dealt with an injury here or there. He's not the most consistent, at least on the field. And he did kind of have a down year last year. And you hope that Lars Nootbaar can replicate his incredible second half, especially with the Cardinals. Overall, he was great in the entire year, but that second half is, I think, what Cardinals fans and the Cardinals front office is really excited about for him to build on. But you never know. And then with Juan Yepes as well, is he a guy who just kind of sticks in against lefties? I feel like Burleson is going to get a lot of run, whether it be as the fourth outfielder DH type. I don't think they should let him go. I think he's going to be a valuable contributor. Like, we've talked about depth on this podcast, with a ton of teams, how these bench guys, how, many innings are they going to log? But with this team especially, even though it seems so straightforward, I do feel like Burleson is going to play. I also want to touch on Dylan Carlson. I'm a Dylan Carlson guy. I think he's amazing in center field, even if he doesn't hit. And he's a switch hitter, add some versatility. Like, I'm a big Dylan Carlson fan. Jack, you don't have to raise your hand. Just talk.
Counterpoint to Dylan Carlson. The only guy with fewer homers and a lower slug in 2022 in the starting lineup for the St. Louis Cardinals was Brendan Donovan, and he was 80 points better in the OBP department. So if there is one cold sore on the mouth that is the St. Louis Cardinals, I do think that it's Dylan Carlson.
I guess that could be fair, but I believe that he's going to bounce back. I feel like, Arm, you're a Dylan Carlson believer.
I am. Yeah. I mean, like, it's one of those things where I'm getting concerned about, like, what the ceiling is. Cause there used to be that 2020 hope. And I think what we're seeing now is a guy that doesn't have the impact that we thought he could develop into. But that said, like, for this team, the way they are top to bottom, if your 9-hitter is Dylan Carlson, who's going to put that on ball and play great defense and switch hit, like, okay, if he's not slugging, that's fine. And that's, I think, what we have to kind of accept what he is there. With the rest of this team, the way this team shakes out, I'm cool with that. I like it. I'm still a fan of his, and I think he's still going to get better and better offensively. My question is this, and I agree with the depth thing, because that's exactly what we just talked about in the Twins episode. But we also see the Cardinals that are trying to fast track Jordan Walker to the big leagues and trying to get him reps in the outfield. And when Jordan Walker gets up there at some point next year, I think he's going to force his way up relatively early, maybe by early summer, June, July. Once that happens, he better be getting at bats. If Jordan Walker is in the big leagues, he better be playing. And I know that's a bridge that we'll cross when we get there, but it's just very fascinating seeing the depth here. And then you tie that in with Ken Rosenthal's piece in The Athletic of, what the trade negotiations were kind of looking like between the A's and the Cardinals, which we touched on a couple episodes ago. I think we actually talked about on the call up with Jack. And what's interesting is the Cardinals were trying to get the A's to pick from a couple of 4 guys, and the A's wanted either Nootbaar or Brendan Donovan as the headliner. The Cardinals were like, pick from Burleson, Graceffo, and those kind of next tier guys that are less proven. Gorman was in that group and Yepes was in that group. So I think they're willing to clear that cluster for the right guy. Sean Murphy was the right guy. And the exact group was Carlson, Gorman, Burleson, and Yepes. They said pick 2 of those guys. The A's weren't interested in doing that. They wanted Nootbaar or Donovan, according to Ken Rosenthal. So I'm willing to, workshop, and maybe we can try and package 2 of those guys if it makes sense, because you're trimming the fat and you got Jordan Walker plugging in soon. But again, we're not just going to make that trade just to make it, because like Peter said, the depth is still really important.
Jack, do you think the A's did a good job instead of those Cardinals guys?
No. But
Damn it.
Arm and I talked about it on the call up. I think the market was a little bit thinner than what was let on, right? Ken Rosenthal was writing about that. He was talking about, maybe the lack of suitors for Sean Murphy. So I think that they did okay. Like, I don't think it was, oh my God, eat this fat L, Oakland, you suck, you sons of bitches. I don't think it was that at all, but I do think that it was pretty light. I've got a name that I think is the right guy, much like Sean Murphy, to improve the starting rotation. But Peter, you want to guide us through the starting rotation first?
Let's talk starting rotation. So right now we got big ol' Wayno, 41 years old, coming back for another year after he threw 191 innings at a 3.71 ERA. Pencil him in. He's giving you another 180 at a 3.80 ERA. Pencil that in. You got Miles Michaelis, who is crafty and is a good pitcher, but he's getting up there in age a little bit. This will be his last year before he is a free agent. So he could be in for a good year. He had a great year last year, threw over 200 innings at
That's the craziest. 202 innings.
202 innings at a 3.29 ERA. Jordan Montgomery, they traded with the Yankees for Harrison Bader at the deadline, and Montgomery was as stellar as humanly possible in the early goings with the Cardinals, but then had a couple of rough starts. But overall, he's a very solid lefty in their rotation. Jack Flaherty is the question mark. When Jack Flaherty is Jack Flaherty, he's one of the better pitchers in that division. When Jack Flaherty, his command is off, and what he gave them last year, a 4.25 ERA in just 36 innings, he's a big question mark. What are you going to get from him? At the top line, it's great. At the bottom, not so much. Then you have Steven Matz. Again, another question mark. He only threw 48 innings last year. I was very adamant about it. I didn't understand this deal when they first signed him to a 4-year deal. Now, the money wasn't that big, especially when you see what guys are getting paid now. Now that deal looks a little bit better. But at the same time, what is he going to give you? Because he didn't give you any production last year. What is he going to give you this year? So that's the rotation. Wayno, Michaelis, Montgomery. Those are your 3 that I think are definite mainstays in the rotation. Then you have Flaherty, who you never know, and Steven Matz. Again, you never know. Then you also have Dakota Hudson, who, in the nicest way possible, he is a pitcher.
Yeah.
Yep.
Long reliever. I think the roster resource has LR next to him for long reliever.
I think roster resources. I think roster resources being a little bit nice. And then you have Andre Palante, who I do really like. But I think they're mostly going to use him in the bullpen. I think that's where he's at his best, but he can make starts for you. I'd much rather see Palante than Dakota Hudson. That is exactly what I want. Give me Palante over Dakota Hudson, but Dakota Hudson is still technically a pitcher. But they need to add to this rotation. And I think they need at least 2 guys. Not at least. They should get 2 guys. If they get one and they have a combination of whoever works, Flaherty or Matz, going into next year, I like the rotation overall, but they could use an ace. We have a lot of names that we could discuss. Jack, I'll go to you for your first.
I've got the right guy that you packaged 2 of them. And you got to tell me what to add to Yepez and Gorman in order to take Tyler Glasnow from Tampa Bay.
Let's talk about it. Let's do it, Aram, because the Tampa Bay Rays, they floated his name. I predict him in my article that he was going to the Los Angeles Dodgers. I don't think that's going to happen after they made the huge signing of Noah Syndergaard, who we know is going to be electric for them next year. And they got Shelby Miller. So that's a pitcher.
So Glasnow is making $5.5 this year, and he signed like a 1-year extension. It is age 30 season in 2024. He makes 25. So this is a 2-year commitment to Tyler Glasnow, who we know when healthy is one of the most electric starting pitchers in baseball. He is overpowering, but he logged including the postseason, like 15 innings last year at the major league level. Yeah. He looks good. He looked good in that time.
Great.
So this is a guy, I don't necessarily know if you're buying low on him, but you're not buying as high as you would have midway through the 2021 season. So I do feel good about the price being attainable for St. Louis. And I do feel good about Glasnow, because even though the starting rotation is very right-handed, they lack a guy that has eye-popping stuff. All the eye-popping stuff is in the bullpen. So if you can offer a different look in the starting rotation, I think that's a big add.
Aram, before I just want to kind of tee you up with my daughter's proposal, because you and I spoke about it. We talked about Gavin Stone going over from the Dodgers, who's one of their top pitching prospects and could even contribute for them next year. The dude's awesome. Also, Andy Pages, outfielder, cannon of an arm, and just a really well-rounded baseball player. So those 2 are some of the Dodgers' best prospects. And then we also added another pitching prospect. So when you hear that deal, the price for Glasnow should be decently high, even though that contract is backloaded. Like we said, $5 million this year, $25 million the next. Now, in this market, that's like what Taijuan Walker is almost making. Like,
yeah, I mean,
that's where we're at.
30 million, I'm in. On Tyler Glasnow, that's a no-brainer.
So what do you think a deal could look like for him? If you are stepping in as the Cardinals GM, John Mozeliak, see ya. It's Arm Layton show.
Yeah.
What would you be calling up the Rays and asking for?
So here's the thing is I'm trying to think, what the Rays would potentially want to. I think Nolan Gorman, realistically, even just on the putting the prospect analysis aside, I think he's the one guy that is the most expendable for them, because him or Burleson, right? But obviously Burleson's not gonna get you Glasnow. I think Gorman's gonna be prioritized by the Rays in this one with how hard he hits the baseball and how much they like guys similar to Gorman's profile. Given the limited defensive versatility, I see Gorman as the first guy I'm looking to move here. So I think Gorman. And then I'd rather not trade Yepez. I'm trying to conceptualize what the value is of a stud frontline pitcher that, is backloaded, coming off an injury, but showed really well at the end of the year.
Do you want me to go to the trade machine?
Yepez, Gorman, and Herrera. Is that fair?
I don't know if that's enough.
I think it is. I'm going to go to the trade machine to make sure
Juan
it is.
Yepez. Like, I think Juan Yepez is going to be really good.
No, Jack, screw the trade machine.
No, I want to do it. I want to go to it, and I want to see what the value is.
You do that. I'll talk with Arm about Mason Wynn.
I'm kidding. I'm not going to the trade machine.
Could Mason Wynn be involved in a deal like this?
I don't want him to.
I don't think they'd do it. Like, if I'm John Mozeliak, I don't think I'm moving him because.
But Tommy Edman is very, very good.
Yeah,
but he's also an elite second baseman.
Yeah,
but he's very, very good shortstop.
He is very, very good. He doesn't throw 103 across the diamond, and he doesn't run. He's not a 70 runner, and I don't even think he really has near the upside of what Mason Wynn can be, who's could be a budding superstar, and I really think could be dynamic player. And they I think if they were willing to trade those guys, like I think they would have been gone by now, especially Mason Wynn after last year. I really think if they can't trade from this group of 4 that they were trying to get Sean Murphy with, like they're not making another move aside from a few other, prospects being thrown in. Herrera, I think is just screams Rays to me too, because he is such a tough case. He hits the ball so hard. His exit velos are really impressive. His max exit velos are impressive, but he's inconsistent. He hasn't really been able to find it. And they seem to do a good job of picking up these catchers and kind of helping, develop them and maximize them. It might not be enough, but I think it's pretty close. I don't know who's going to beat Gorman, Yepez, and Herrera for 2 years of Tyler Glasnow, with the second year being not a cheap controllable year. It's close to market value year.
What if we did, instead of Herrera, we put in a solid pitching prospect from the Cardinals? Because you'd assume that the Rays would want a pitcher in return. If they're giving up Glasnow, they're getting 2 bats.
But they're already jammed up a little bit. That's why I think Glasnow is the right choice here, because they already have Taj Bradley, who has pitched half a season in AAA. Like, Bradley is absolutely knocking on the door. And the opening day starting rotation, as we see right now, is McClanahan, Glasnow, Rasmussen, Eflin, who they just signed to a 3-year deal, Jeffrey Springs. Oh, by the way, Shane Baz is out this year. He's recovering from Tommy John, but he's back to break camp in 24. Like, there's a lot of starting pitching here that Tampa has. I don't think they need more starting pitching.
But you always need more starting pitching. Like, Baz isn't going to be there next year. And like, you hope Taj Bradley is great. You even think, is Zach Eflin going to be a starter for them? With Philly, he was more of a reliever. Like, will he slot into the rotation? I think you can never have too much pitching. And if you're giving up a pitcher and you're getting 3 bats, I just think that they'd want a pitcher in this deal. That's why I just want to talk about who of this, like, could Liberator be in this deal? Is that someone who potentially, instead of Herrera,
why would they want him back?
Yeah, they don't want him back.
Good point. Okay. I'm just talking here. All we're doing is talking. We're talking.
Yeah. Not
Liberator.
Tampa also has Patino and Josh Fleming, and obviously Patino is like, ship may be close to sailed on Patino, but that's just another guy with starting experience. Josh Fleming, another guy with starting experience. We know Tampa loves being unorthodox. Why would they want 5 normal-ass starters when their whole thing since Joe Madden was, I don't want 5 normal-ass starters? You know what I mean?
But they have Harold Ramirez at DH. Why would they want Yepez?
Because Yepez is better.
Is Yepez better? No, but what I'm saying is, like, they are a good team, and they have a lot of holes plugged already by big league guys. Like, they are probably going to make the playoffs again. If they're going to offload Glasnow, I just wanted to talk about some potential starting pitchers that could be involved in the deal in the Cardinals system, maybe to sweeten the deal over Ivan Herrera.
Yeah, I mean, Tinkens is untouchable. Graceffo is a guy that they didn't really want to move, and that was a guy that Oakland wanted. And Graceffo is kind of close to making a big league debut, I think, and probably somebody that they don't really want to trade, because that's one of the few arms that the Cardinals have, period, that are close to a big league debut, aside from Liberator, who was brutal last year. So I think that the Rays just want to maximize value here, and if you can get a catcher who has the potential to be an everyday guy for you, if you're patient. Like, the problem for the Cardinals is they didn't have time for Ivan Herrera to work through whatever he needs to work through to become an everyday catcher. But the guy is still young, he's extremely talented, and the Rays can be a little bit more patient there. So I'd rather have the upside catcher when their system's kind of thin in that regard, than just taking an arm just to take an arm, which is probably what they'd be doing out of this Cardinals system that's thin on pitching for sure.
Okay. Oh yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Herrera, Gorman, Yepez, and Pete Hansen, who I know Peter likes, because they drafted a couple. Like, McGreevy is sitting here, Cooper Jerpy is sitting here. Like, maybe out of Pete Hansen, right?
I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that gets the deal across, and I think that sweetens it a little bit for Rays fans who are hearing, we're trading Glasnow for who? And then they get a good college pitcher. I'm a Pete Hansen guy. I'm a Jerpy guy.
I feel like
it's
like
these
just
guys.
Pick generic college right-hander, right? Not Jerpy. You're not touching Jerpy, but pick your generic college right-hander.
All right. Well, then
Petey's a lefty.
Oh, shit. All right. Generic college starter.
Yeah.
The Rays need to send somebody else back. Then I need one more piece. Then.
Wow. Okay. What if we did
You
Pete
take
Hansen?
Yepes out. Can you get it done?
No. I need a small piece. I need a small piece.
Small piece.
A little reliever, maybe a lower level prospect, just something.
What
I
about?
like it.
Does someone like a Brock Jones feels like a Cardinal?
I don't think they would move Brock.
But doesn't he feel like a Cardinal?
He does kind of sound like he looks like a card.
Hey, there's no more room for Greg Jones. How about Greg Jones?
Greg Jones, another freak athlete shortstop. Yes, just send me Austin Shenton and we'll call it a day.
I like him. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. All right. We made the trade. We just traded for Tyler Glasnow.
All right.
And the trade is, Jack, recap.
Herrera, Yepes, Gorman, and Pete Hansen for Tyler Glasnow and Austin Shenton.
Done.
That's a trade. That's a trade. So now in the rotation, we didn't sign Rodon. We traded from what we got. But now we just gave up Gorman. We gave up Yepes. And we got Tyler Glasnow. So now the rotation looks like Glasnow, Waino, Michaelis, Montgomery, and then whoever
Matz
makes it
or
between Flaherty or Matz. But now we probably have to add who do we get now potentially a DH? I assume you could just move Burleson into the DH role. So we don't really need to do anything there. But now we probably
right-handed bat now that Yepes is gone.
I have a perfect infielder, veteran, bat. Won't last long, but could give you an added veteran boost off the bench. His name is Elvis Andrus. He had a 3.5 WAR last year, and he's not going to be that expensive. Right-handed bat, give you some infield depth, has played second base before. Give me Elvis Andrus. Why not us, Arm?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like Andrus, like obviously wants to start, but who's starting Elvis Andrus? So,
does he want to win?
Does he want to win? What do you think, Jack, White Sox aficionado who saw the greatness of Elvis Andrus last year in the second half?
Does he want to win?
No, like, is he taking a bench role with the Cardinals? Because I do like that pickup. I do like where Peter's at on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, is there a starting shortstop job available for Elvis Andrus somewhere?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, no, right? Like
Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, that job's available. So if Arizona comes calling and say, hey, you can start for a really young team, you do it. But if his only options are to serve as a backup, go somewhere that you can try and win a ring, right?
Yeah.
So I like the fit in St. Louis. I was thinking different terms. I was thinking immobile, like serve the Pujols rule. I was thinking JD Martinez. I was also thinking Trey Mancini, who I think hit himself out of a starting job.
Both of those guys seem like Cardinals.
Mancini,
I think Mancini feels like a Cardinal.
Mancini does, and Mancini at least gives you the ability to, play first base when Goldie has a day off, which is obviously rare. He feels in the DH. You can throw him in corner outfits. He has a little bit of versatility there. Kind of similar to Yepes in that regard. Like not good anywhere, but can play multiple spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and Mancini's more likely to accept that role, right? Like I'm expecting a JD Martinez to probably take a 1-year deal and want to play every day and show.
He's like I need 550 plate appearances. Yeah,
because last year I was hurt and that was bullshit. Like I'm gonna be good to go, and I do think JD's gonna bounce back in a big way. Mancini, that makes sense, and he'll still get a lot of plate appearances. Righty to split time with Burleson at the DH spot. Burleson can fill in other spots as well. Yeah. I like that. Mancini's also just certified good dude. By the way, just got married too. Congratulations to him. I think he's honeymooning as we speak.
And Sarah Perlman.
Yeah, Sarah Perlman, friend from South Florida. Very, very cool. Very excited for them. That's super, super awesome. But I assume he's going to finally decide to start figuring out where they want to live. I think they're going to probably have that conversation after the honeymoon. And look, playing for the St. Louis Cardinals is a great opportunity. And I've talked to so many former big leaguers or whatever. Like Jeff Cohen always talks about like, oh, that's one team I would have loved to have, been able to experience or play for. And I think Mancini, that would be a perfect fit,
Okay.
with what he brings to the table.
I love it. We're Elvis Andrews. You are an Arizona Diamondback. Sorry. We didn't sign you.
We just signed him to the D-backs, and we're not even doing the D-backs episode.
Okay. So we just signed Trey Mancini. How many years do we have to give him? 2? 1?
2.
We'll give him a 2-year deal versus worth
1 in a mutual. Yeah.
Yeah.
He really hurt himself with that second half.
We'll give him $26 million over 2, and we'll space it out. We'll be very strategic. We'll screw him.
I'll give him 1 and a player for 20.
All right, screw it. We just signed Trey Mancini.
That much for Trey Mancini?
Yeah, 10 annually. Player option for 10.
Yeah.
In this market, he's worth like a 5-year deal for 100. All right.
What did Haniger get?
3 for 43. 3 for 43.
Haniger got 3 for 45 or 43.
Yeah, something like that.
So 2 for 20. So
yeah,
like
2 for 20.
1 for 10 or 12 in a player option. I'm in on that.
Yeah.
2 for 22. He's earned it.
Okay.
He's earned it. All right.
Okay.
So we just signed Trey Mancini. Let me float another name. We still need an infielder, right? Right? We gave up Gorman. Who's playing in the middle infield besides Edman and Donovan on this team?
DeYoung still exists, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does exist.
All
right.
Like
I guess
if that's your bench infielder, like
no, he's fine.
That's fine.
What I will say is I was also going to float Josh Harrison's name out there.
Maybe.
Also,
Red Sox are in on him though. They're going to make sure they lock that guy up.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right.
Now, I like DeYoung is like in this role. DeYoung's awesome, right? Good defender. He is a powerful bat off the bench. Like when I have a guy coming off the bench, I either want them to be somebody that's going to grind an AB or be able to leave the yard with one swing. Like no in between. DeYoung's obviously the latter. I like him off the bench. I think that's fine. And then they've got some internal quadruple A guys that I think could come up and fill out that bench. Though they did lose Evan Mendoza, tough blow on the quadruple A.
Hey, shout out Diamond Dogs NFTs.
Yeah, Diamond Dogs NFT. Shout out that. I think we're pretty good, right? I think we're covered there.
I think so.
I think we are too. So now the starting lineup looks like Edman at short, Wilson at catcher, Goldie at first, Arenado at third, Donovan at second, Tyler O'Neill in left, Newt Barr in right. We're gonna put Trey Mancini
Burleson
at DH, and we're going with Dylan Carlson in center. On the bench, you have Herrera, you got Kisner, you got DeYoung.
Herrera's gone.
See ya.
Oh yeah, Herrera's gone.
Peace.
Kisner, your time to shine and your 300 slug. And we have DeYoung. Who else is on the bench right now? It's either Burleson or Trey Mancini, kind of whoever's playing. Little righty-lefty platoon there. In the rotation, Glasnow, Waino, Michaelis, Montgomery, and I don't think we need to add another starter. I think you just give it to Flaherty or Matz, see whoever's healthy. Then you could put Palante, you could put Dakota Hudson in there.
That's the thing too. Is like you're getting more than 30. I don't know how many innings you're getting from Jack Flaherty, but you're getting more than 36.
Or Libby.
Or Libby or Connor Thomas, who was added to the 40-man, and I like Connor Thomas. So like there are options 6 and 7 in the starting rotation.
And you got a good 4 there. Then in the bullpen, Aram, you DFA'd Helsley. I would recommend we did not do that because he is
I don't think we DFA Helsley.
I don't think
I almost lost my job when I did that, so I'll take it back.
All right. And we're going to speak with Helsley in a couple of minutes here. We also have Giovanni Gallegos. Again, we have Palante, we have Jordan Hicks, we have Genesis Cabrera, we have Chris Stratton, Wilking Rodriguez, and then, of course, you have Dakota Hudson.
So I'm putting my foot down before we go any further. I want to sign Wilking Rodriguez to a 5-year deal right now after we just selected him in the Rule 5 draft. So I want to give real quick the Spark Note story on Wilking Rodriguez. He's last pitched in affiliated baseball in 2015, where he's 32 years old. He last pitched in affiliated baseball in 2015, then has pitched the last 7 seasons in the Mexican and Venezuelan leagues. In those leagues, has just gotten better and better and better. And in the last year, he was a closer in the Mexican league, I believe, running it up to 101 with a power curve in the mid 80s. That was disgusting. Yankees caught wind, signed him in August, and he did not pitch an inning for them because I think he was trying to get, either was shut down for the year or was trying to get back, whatever happened. Signs with the Yankees, doesn't pitch, eligible to be picked in the Rule 5 draft. And for whatever scouting that the Cardinals did from his time in the Mexican League, they saw enough to take him in the Rule 5. So this guy has still not pitched in affiliated baseball since 2015, and his first appearance back will be at the big league level, which is super cool. So sorry, just had to tell that Wilking Rodriguez story. Very awesome for him.
Another name that you didn't mention, another lefty, Zach Thompson, former first-round pick out of Kentucky, had a 2.08 ERA in 34 2/3 innings, pretty much all out of the bullpen. He was a failed starter in the minor leagues. They just didn't really like him as a starting pitcher. They moved him to the bullpen, and he was like mid to high 90s with a fastball, and opponents hit like 110 against his curveball. So That's another lefty. Him and Cabrera, you're good on lefty relievers. And in terms of righty relievers, Helsley, Gallegos, Palante, Hicks, Rodriguez, I don't think it gets much better. I think this is already one of the best bullpens in baseball.
I agree. Do we sign another lefty?
I don't think you need one if you've got two of them.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Also, do you think they will bring back Alex Reyes?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I wonder where
Red Sox DFA Jeter Downs. You guys see that?
No, I didn't.
No way.
Yeah. That trade, man. Oh, man.
Just a refresher. Mookie Betts was traded from the Boston Red Sox for Alex Verdugo, now DFA Jeter Downs, and catcher Connor Wong.
2 left. One last depth piece, which is it was a funny troll that I would ask Jack every single time we recorded the call up. Do you believe in Moises Gomez now? Because Moises Gomez was pacing minor league baseball in home runs like all year and hit, 39 last season, struck out 34% of the time. But could be a platoon power bat off the bench too if somebody goes down or someone's hurt. Put in 60 games at AAA, hit 16 home runs and a 128 WRC plus. So another guy that can fill in.
Wow. Okay, we got a team here. We made the big trade for Glasnow. Are we going to sign Taylor Rogers? Are we going to sign a lefty reliever? Or we just say we're good? We got Mancini. We got Glasnow. We don't really have to do much else.
Say screw
I
it,
would
man.
like one more lefty, but there are some good bullpens with one lefty, right? I mean,
yeah. But one more,
we'd have to boot somebody.
Like, what if Wilking doesn't end up debuting?
They don't have a choice.
Yeah, I guess they don't have a choice. They got to pitch him. I just would like one lefty, but I mean, this bullpen is pretty set. I don't know who I'm kicking out. I like all the guys left. Yeah. I guess you could say Stratton, but you got to keep him in there. He's fine. He's a good depth arm.
Yeah.
And they also have
that is what it is.
Drew Verhagen.
Yeah.
Had hip surgery.
He had hip surgery the same time I did.
Yeah.
Oh.
You guys saw them together. All right. So this is the team again. Edmund at short, Wilson at catcher, Goldie at first, Arenado at third, Donovan at second, O'Neill in left, Nootbaar in right. The combination of Burleson and Trey Mancini, who we just signed to a 2-year deal, one with an option, whatever you want to call it. And then we have Dylan Carlson in center. On the mound, it is Glasnow, Waino, Michaelis, Monty, and the combination of Flaherty and Matz. Then the bullpen, Helsley, Gallegos, Palante, Hicks, Henderson Cabrera, Chris Stratton, Wilking Rodriguez, and then you got Dakota Hudson doing whatever he needs to do to make a ball club. Gentlemen, this is a team. This is a team that's winning the division.
Win the World Series.
This team could win the World Series. If Glasnow is healthy, this team could win the World Series.
Yes.
Which is what blows my mind. It's like, I don't know if that moves on the table, but that just, they could upgrade their big league roster by trading some sort of, combination of whatever we just put out there. Obviously it didn't work for Sean Murphy, but that was because the A's want certain types of players and prospects, and those guys didn't fit the bill for them.
Yeah.
But they could get impact dudes out there. So I hope they make another move. They talked Nolan Arenado into opting in on, 28 million AAV, which actually turns into 24 million because the Rockies are paying the Cardinals to, have an MVP candidate every single year. So,
and inflation probably puts that down to 19, right?
It puts it down to 24.8. Yeah. Plus inflation. So it's basically free. Nolan Arenado is literally playing for free. Yeah, I feel like they have to do something else. Like they promised him more than Wilson Contreras, right? They had to when John Mozeliak flew out to California or wherever he met up with Arenado to talk him into opting in. I feel like he had to promise him more than Wilson Contreras, even though that is a great sign.
And for Cardinals fans, let's say you don't trade for Glasnow. There's still Pablo Lopez on the Marlins. There's still Trevor Rogers on the Marlins.
Mm-hmm.
You have a very, very
Please.
shot. Wouldn't really consider it, but Zach Gallen is a name, and he is dominant, even though he was a former Cardinal. Merrill Kelly is also another name. There are guys out there that you could potentially make these deals for, and I'm not counting them out of the Carlos Rodon sweepstakes either.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems we got a report from Katie Wu, who covers the Cardinals for The Athletic, friend of the Just Baseball show. She said it's just a little bit unlikely, but doesn't mean they don't come in at the 11th hour and make a deal for Carlos Rodon. They are going to add on the pitching side, whether it be through a trade or whether it be through a free agent signing. The offense is pretty loaded. Trey Mancini could be that guy. There's a ton of names still left. The Cardinals, right now, if they do nothing, I'm still penciling them in as the NL Central winner. And if they do a bunch, they add a big-time starter, they add some more depth pieces in their offense, this team could win the World Series.